Good morning, and welcome to Future Trends, where we examine the latest stories reshaping tomorrow's international dynamics. This week, we're covering major policy changes, escalating conflicts, economic shifts, and technological breakthroughs. This week's headlines: Russia approaches 1 million war casualties in Ukraine. The US deploys Marines to Los Angeles amid migration protests. Rwanda quits a Central African bloc in a dispute with Congo. Global brands prepare to raise prices worldwide. And AI research pushes back the age of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Starting with politics, President Trump has reinstated a travel ban, barring citizens of 12 countries from entering the United States. The proclamation affects Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Congo Republic, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Citizens from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela will face partial restrictions. Trump said the move was needed to protect against foreign terrorists and other security threats. In South Korea, opposition leader Lee has won the presidential election following a snap vote 6 months after the previous conservative leader declared martial law. Official results showed Lee winning by nearly 3 million votes ahead of his main rival from the incumbent Conservative People Power Party. President Putin has indicated readiness to help the US on Iran nuclear negotiations. Trump said his Russian counterpart agreed that Iran should not have nuclear weapons. A Kremlin spokesperson said Russia would use its close partnership with Tehran to facilitate and contribute to the negotiations. Rwanda has quit the Economic Community of Central African States in a dispute with Congo. The withdrawal underscores diplomatic tensions over an offensive this year by Rwanda-backed M23 rebels in eastern Congo. Rwanda had expected to assume chairmanship of the 11-member bloc, but was passed over in favor of keeping Equatorial Guinea in the role. The Secretary General of the Council of Europe has acknowledged growing criticism of the European Convention on Human Rights, but said reform of the 75-year-old treaty should be approached with care and rooted in shared democratic principles. Turning to conflict news, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has closed all aid distribution sites after a series of deadly shootings. The US and Israeli-backed group urged residents to stay away from facilities for their safety until further notice. Russia is nearing 1 million war casualties in Ukraine. A CSIS report estimated 950,000 Russian casualties so far, with as many as 250,000 dead. The report noted that no Soviet or Russian war since World War II has come close to Ukraine in terms of fatality rate. Ukraine has sustained nearly 400,000 casualties, with between 60,000 and 100,000 deaths. The US military will temporarily deploy about 700 Marines to Los Angeles until more National Guard troops can arrive. This marks another escalation in the government's response to multiple days of street protests over immigration policies, as Trump backs the arrest of California's governor. The Wagner Group has announced its withdrawal from Mali, declaring its mission to support the country's military against jihadist insurgents accomplished. Wagner claimed it had stabilized the country, destroyed terrorist infrastructure, and trained local forces since beginning operations in 2021. Israel has struck Beirut after announcing it was targeting Hezbollah drone factories. Israeli airstrikes in southern Beirut suburbs hit what Israel claimed were underground drone factories. Lebanon and the UN describe this as a violation of the November ceasefire agreement. Moving to economics, global brands are set to raise prices worldwide to spread inflation beyond the US. Economists say multinational firms want to avoid dampening demand from American consumers by having them foot the entire bill for tariffs. German shoe manufacturer Birkenstock is among global retailers preparing price increases across the board. India is poised to be the primary engine of global economic growth. A World Economic Forum report highlighted India's strong economic fundamentals and positive outlook, saying the world's most populous nation is set to drive global growth in 2025 and 2026. The OECD has lowered its global outlook as trade disputes hit US growth. Global economic growth is slowing more than expected as fallout from the US administration's trade war takes a bigger toll on its domestic economy. Argentina has launched a $2 billion repurchase agreement to boost reserves. The central bank's broad economic package comes ahead of an expected International Monetary Fund review of the country's recently signed $20 billion loan agreement. Procter & Gamble will cut 7,000 jobs over the next 2 years as the world's largest consumer goods company contends with an uncertain spending environment fueled partly by US tariffs. In development news, the Africa Finance Corporation says Africa has trillions available to fund infrastructure. African governments should turn to an estimated $4 trillion in capital held by domestic institutions like pension funds to develop much-needed local infrastructure as external funding sources wane. Serbian farmers are vowing to oppose Rio Tinto's lithium project, despite the European Commission saying the development is part of its strategy to cut dependency on China for mineral resources. The world's first humanoid robot boxing competition has provided a testing ground for technicians to optimize robot algorithms and improve performance. Operators controlled the robots using voice commands and remote controls from ringside, allowing for real-time human-robot collaboration. Multicultural acceptance is rising amongst Korean adults. Over 78% of adults agree that increased immigration helps alleviate labor shortages, with public perception regarding immigrants' contribution to society largely positive. A quantum system has beaten classical AI in a real test. Researchers have shown that even small-scale quantum processors can outperform classical algorithms in machine learning tasks, offering a glimpse into a faster, greener era of quantum machine learning. Finally, our social news. A hungry elephant has raided a grocery store in Thailand. The wild elephant stopped in front of the shop's counter, calmly snatching and chomping snacks, and didn't flinch as national park workers tried to shoo him away. The elephant later backed out, still holding a bag of snacks with his trunk. A new report reveals that public discourse on migration is shaped by misinformation and conspiracy theories. The Joint Research Center found that discussion around migration in Europe is shaped by simplified and biased narratives often used for political purposes, creating distorted views that influence public perception and policy decisions. AI research has pushed back the age of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Researchers trained an artificial intelligence model on carbon-dated scrolls and used it to predict more accurate dates for the ancient texts. One scroll containing a fragment from the Book of Daniel was dated to between 230 and 160 BC, up to 100 years older than previous estimates. Ghana's former finance minister is being sought over corruption allegations, including violating procurement procedures relating to ambulances and a national cathedral project that remains unfinished despite $58 million in government spending. The FBI has accused 2 Chinese researchers of smuggling toxic fungus into the US for work at a University of Michigan laboratory. The biological pathogen, Fusarium graminearum, is classified as a potential agro-terrorism weapon and causes head blight disease in wheat, barley, maize, and rice. That's your Future Trends update for this week. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with more stories reshaping our world.